Hello everybody, welcome back to Tommy's Tune-Ups. I'm back from Christmas break and working on the old Skidoos again. I got a nice treat here for all you Skidoo fans out there. Everybody seems to love some of the videos I've been doing on the Elans and the old Alpine I had. But this is a early 70s, I'm thinking, Elan, just single cylinder. Nice custom decals on there, I love it. Looking really good. So the sled's had some work done to it before. The gentleman that I'm doing this for, he said he had all kinds of these things and then put this together kind of out of parts and pieces and wants to use it this season, but it won't run. And it's got the book, a couple parts here, lots of carb parts, which is awesome. I'm still waiting on carb pieces to come in for the twin, get that rebuild kit put in. But in the meantime, we're gonna get started on this. So it's a pretty nice little sled. I think it's a 299 Rotax, it's what he said. It looks like it. It's probably off of an older Olympic or something similar vintage. The wiring, I gotta go through that. Nothing's hooked up, or what is hooked up, I don't know if it really works either. No recoil, but he's got a new recoil in the bag here. So that was another thing. Recoil came and he's got a full manual. So that was pretty awesome, pretty helpful. I'm gonna have to either take a copy of this or see if I can find this online, print one out for myself. But it's a clean little motor, everything's there. The carb looks okay. I don't know what the plates or diaphragms or anything look like inside, obviously, but it doesn't run. He said it's got spark. It'll run if you put gas down the hole and pull the rope, but that's not good enough. So I think we'll get started by trying to put the recoil together and go from there. We've got our trusty supervisor here to make sure everything's gonna go well with this project. But I figured I'd want to have a closer look at where the recoil bolts on the side of the motor. He said he was just wrapping the rope around here. It's a little loose. On that inside, you can see the teeth. They don't look terrible. So I think I should be good to work with that. I'll clean them up a little bit there, but I think it's usable. We'll give it a shot. Here's the parts the gentleman gave me. So I think we're gonna be able to reuse this recoil assembly. Obviously it needs some love, we'll get into it. But first thing I noticed, there's only one little pawl on here. The other one's broken off, but he's got a new one. So that's pretty sweet. New rope, has a new spring here even, that's pretty awesome. There's a spring in this one, but who knows what kind of shape it's in. We'll figure that out. We got a handle, little boot. Should go on there, I guess. And then a couple points kits, a whole pile of plates for Tillotson HR series carbs, and one rebuild kit. I'm a little suspicious though on this because I think it's been opened and I don't see any of the plugs in there, but there's a full or almost full kit, so see if we can get into that too. Referring to our good friend Manuel here, it's telling us we just pull this circlip off in the center, take this washer off, and the whole assembly should come out of here. I'm not going to reuse this old rope, so I'll probably just end up cutting it if I have to. These screws are stripped on the side, but I don't see why I'm going to have to take this plate off, but we're going to find out. So I got the clip off, and then took this washer off, and then we have a spring. Looks like a little serrated washer. And the pawl, yeah, see what I mean? One side's broken off. So it's probably why there's a bit of damage on the inside of the engine there on where it engages. If it was only pulling on one arm. And there's a bit of spring tension in here. I don't really want the spring to come flying out at me, but let's see. Oh. There we go. Oh, and there's another washer on the bottom here too. Got that. Looks pretty good. It looks like the spring is covered inside as well. That's also what the manual showed. It's not broken. It's moving a bit. Oh yeah, no, there's no end on it. So yeah, there's no end to engage on that pin. So that's why we got a new spring. Wherever I put that down, but he sent us a new spring too. So that pin has to engage on there. So that's probably why the spring was pretty weak, because it's not holding on to anything, just the case itself. All right, after a little jimmying around, got it apart. There's the spring. So with the notch where the head comes out facing down, the spring winds around clockwise. So when we're putting this in, it's got to go same way, right? So clockwise would be this way. Now when I pull this spring out of here, it's going to make a mess. It's going to go and stretch out probably straight or near straight. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do with this. I might try and slip a zip tie underneath and pull it all together, just so that way it's not flying around on me. Clean up the housings a little bit. This is our top piece. It's got the little dimples on the side, and this is the bottom. It's got the holes come together just like that. So putting the new spring in, check the direction. Again, it's clockwise. So when we put it in, this is the top piece. I'm going to try and get the bottom as far in as I can, and I'm going to push the top down so that way it stays inside. And then I'm going to cut the band and try and carefully pull the band out. You could take this apart, straighten it out, wind it in there. Will work, do the same thing, but it's already wound up nice and tight. Want to keep it that way. Just remember, when you are doing this, check the way of the hook. This is super, super important. You don't want to have to take it out because you put the spring in upside down. So I like to use a pair of these big C-grips, but it pushed the top in, which is perfect. It stayed inside, and the band is almost all the way out. So then I'm just going to carefully work the band off with a screwdriver, making sure the spring stays inside the cap. Just like that, stayed inside, spring's going the right way. So it says just to put a little bit of grease on the spring. When you pull the rope, the spring's gonna move in and out, and it's gonna squeeze this grease all around inside. So you don't have to go too crazy. Also, we don't wanna have too much that's leaking out everywhere and it gets all over the rope. Rope gets all greasy. That would be no fun. Let's put a bit of grease on the housing too. That'll get spread around. Same for the other piece. And then we're just doing the lip of this as well, because this half has to slip back inside here. So it's also very important that you bend the end of the spring, so that way when you put the other half of the cover on, you're going to be able to fit into this notch with the recoil pulley. There it is, our assembled spring cartridge. Be careful when you're putting these halves together too. Got to line up the dots on the side. This is what I was talking about earlier, where the recoil pulley has to engage on the spring. So this here has to be able to fit inside there. So that's how it actually works. So if you have a brand new spring and this is too far in, it won't catch on, and then you'll have to take this apart, which usually is a nightmare. So to get the rope out, I just pulled on the end of it with some pliers, and this little wedge dog came flying out of here. So that's pretty sweet. Look at that. So came out of this way. Somebody's already put some Sharpie on here. Got a new rope here. I just cleaned up the end with a lighter just so it will go through here a little bit better. Perfect. And the wedge dog was this way. Oh, this is just beauty. Tuck that in. So the harder you pull, the tighter that's going to get. I'm just going to seat it. There's a little extra there. Tuck that in neat. But that's not coming out of there. So I fussed with it a little bit more, and I got to take another full reel, so that way I only have a little bit left, which is going to be perfect. We're going to grease up the top of things, and we're going to try and put this new Paul kit on here. Okay, so here's another perfect example of why you should try and hold on to and reuse old parts if you have them. This is a brand new kit, but there's a slight little hole in the bottom of the bag here, and there's only one of these washers, and we need two. So thank goodness we held onto those. It's kind of hard to see in black and white, but it shows that when the recoil spins counterclockwise, the dogs move clockwise. So our recoil spins counterclockwise, but the dogs, when you twist them, they spin clockwise. So I think that's right. Put a little bit of grease on the back side of that serrated washer, just where it meets the spring, and then I'm going to put a little bit of grease, same thing on the back of this large washer that goes over top of everything. So then this goes down, and the circlip goes back on, and that's a rebuilt recoil. There it is, thing of beauty. Perfect. Exactly what we needed. I got the handle free from the old rope, pretty thin rope. We're going to try and, I taped the end, I'm going to try and stuff this through here. There was this rubber stopper that came with it. It's not complete, but we'll tape it on. Should work. Just like that. Tie a nice knot in there, and she's good to go. I put the recoil back on. I tightened up the, it's like a cup with splines. It's bolted to the motor. I tightened it up on the inside, cleaned them out as best I could. They're kind of 60-40. I pulled it over with the plug in it. It works, but then they do strip a little bit. So I asked the customer there, and he said he does have a brand new one. So that's a stroke of luck. So I'll have to take that off. But I figured the next step would be to check for spark. There's lots of spark there. So next step will be going through the carb.